everyone. Welcome to ABC Interactive English. I am Mike.
And I am Sam.
And it is a day at school. Well, part 2 of a day at school. So this is like afternoon lunchtime at school because the morning began, of course, yesterday with Paula and Clint, 2 classmates, enjoying talking to each other, and it was an exciting day for Clint, right?
Yeah.
The first day.
First time on a bus by himself.
That's right. Yeah. He got to go to school by himself, and Paula was helping him kind of get himself together, make sure he looked nice and return an overdue library book. So I think all that is done. So today we're going to be seeing what they're going to be talking about. I think about some of their classes.
Yeah.
That's what they'll talk about. Did you have a favorite class or a least favorite class?
I think
at
my
school?
favorite class was probably chemistry because I had a really awesome teacher.
Wait, chemistry?
I know.
Was your favorite?
Yeah, but I had such a good teacher. I still remember Mrs. Gray, and so this was in high school, but she was such a good teacher and made chemistry super interesting. I know a lot of people will disagree with me, but very fun class.
Okay, well that's pretty cool. I think chemistry was one of my least favorite classes. So that was sort of, I guess, my experience. My favorite, maybe English. I liked English class. History class I thought was interesting too. So, everyone has an interesting class or ones they don't like. But as you said, having a good teacher can make almost any class more interesting than it might be. So we hope that Clint and Paula have some great teachers and some great classes. And we're going to be finding out all about those things in our dialogue today. So let's check it out.
Clint and Paula are talking in the hallway between classes.
My next class is music. What's yours?
I have chemistry, so I'll be in the laboratory.
Okay, so let's get back to Clint and Paula in a day at school. Now we're in part B. So now they are no longer getting off the bus standing outside. They're actually in school. So let's see what the scenario is. So we have Clint and Paula are talking in the hallway between classes. So we have this word hallway. So the hallway is just the kind of aisle between the classrooms, like inside. So if you're walking down the hallway, then you might see on your right side is lockers, and then on the left side is maybe a classroom, and back and forth and back and forth. So this is the hallway. And so they are standing there. They're in between classes, which means the time in between classes, not literally standing between 2 classrooms. Well, I guess they could be also. But this is more talking about the time in between their 2 classes.
Yeah, hallways, how you get from one room to another, especially in a big building, right? You might have a small hallway in your home near the bathroom, and you walk down it to get to your bedroom. One door is on one side. But in a big place, like we think of a hospital or a school, something like that, long hallways, and there'll be the rooms off each side, and the hallway is how you get from one part of the building over to another. And it's a good place for the students to hang out and pass each other, chat when they're going from class to class through the day. So they run into each other. Hey, how you doing? Hey, what's going on? What do you want to do for lunch? And Clint asks this question. He says, my next class is music. What's yours? So they don't always have the same classes together, these 2. Maybe sometimes they do, but not all the time. But they're still friends, and so Paula says.
Yeah, and so Paula then says, I have chemistry, so I'll be in the laboratory.
I see. So you see they have 2 different classes. Clint will be doing music, and Paula will be doing chemistry. I think I'll join Clint. I think I'll go to the music
I'll go
class.
with Paula. I'm happy to join chemistry.
Maybe your teacher's there. That would be great to see her again. I'm not a big fan of chemistry, as I explained earlier. It's a type of science. We often study physics, biology, and chemistry in our high school science classes. Physics is moving things, weight, forces, gravity. Biology is living things, plants, animals, cells, people, things like that. Chemistry is basically what everything is made of. When we talk about elements like hydrogen, oxygen, carbon, when we talk about doing things with heat and with liquid and making explosions and all that kind of stuff.
Making explosions? I don't know about that in a classroom.
H2O is water. If you know that H2O is the symbol for water, that is chemistry right there. So that's the kind of thing that they're doing in that science class. I wasn't a big fan of chemistry. But if you do chemistry, you'll probably have to do it in a laboratory.
Yes, a laboratory is the place where a lot of these scientific experiments might be happening. We also sometimes will shorten this word to just lab. So if you hear somebody say like, oh, I'll be in the lab, that's the same as the laboratory. And so this word is a place where you conduct in this case, experiments with chemistry, but you can have all kinds of different labs. There could be a medical lab, and that's where they might be testing different samples of maybe blood samples or things like that. You could have a computer lab where it's like a whole room full of computers where you might be learning some kind of coding or something like that. So this word is a room where you conduct or you carry out different things depending on what type of lab it might be.
That's right. And it would be different from a normal classroom because it will have special equipment in it that you wouldn't find in other normal classrooms. Computers in one case, or all those bottles and jars and things that make fire to do
Erlenmeyer flasks. I still remember that.
That's right. Bunsen burners.
Bunsen burners.
To do your chemistry. So it's kind of like a workspace with special equipment for doing special types of science. Let's take a quick break and then we'll be back in the ABC Interactive English Laboratory. This is where we do our science.
Experiments.
We'll see you soon.
Cool. We'll be neighbors because the music room is right next door.
Oh, I almost forgot. I'm not going straight to the cafeteria after class.
How come? I thought we would walk there together.
I have to drop off my report for Mr. Wilson's class at the teacher's office.
That shouldn't take too long.
It won't, but I have to run to the computer lab and print it out first.
All right, so it's time for the next class to begin in Paula and Clint's busy day. They won't be in the same class, right? I think Paula has chemistry, Clint has music, so they won't be together. But Clint sort of sees there's a good part of this. He says, cool, it's cool that you have chemistry, I have music, and he explains why he thinks that's cool. He says, we'll be neighbors because the music room is right next door. So as she's doing her chemistry, she'll hear Clint playing his trumpet solo or banging on his drums or singing really badly. And she'll go, oh, that's Clint, as she tries to pour chemicals.
I was just going to say, I'm not sure if those two classrooms should be next to each other.
Point.
If you're trying to carefully measure and then, and you get an F.
What's going on?
Yeah, so then Paula continues, she says, oh, I almost forgot, I'm not going straight to the cafeteria after class. And so, again, they're discussing like, okay, you have this class, I have this class, but she also says, oh, wait, about lunch, I want to let you know I'm not going straight to the cafeteria. Maybe she has something she needs to do before then.
Okay.
So she's letting Clint know that, hey, I'm not going to be in the lunchroom right away.
Right, and notice they didn't really talk about going to the cafeteria or their plan, so I guess this is their normal plan. Normally, no matter what they do in the morning, they meet for lunch at the same place at the same time, but she's saying today I won't do that, so she wants to warn him. It also mentioned there that they are neighbors. Now, normally when we think of neighbors, we think of the people who live close to you, the people who live in the same building or in a house across the street or a house near you or something like that. But here, of course, they're not talking about where they live, they're talking about where their classes are. Their classes are next to each other. So yeah, you could use it in the same way. You could talk about your neighbor when you're sitting at a restaurant or something like that. But normally it's where we live and the people who live nearby us. But it could also be any place that is nearby another place or something like that. So these two classrooms are neighbors to each other. They're next to each other.
Yeah, and this is also kind of used a little bit in like a funny way because, yes, again, normally it's people who live next to each other. But a lot of times if you had maybe your seats were next to each other in the classroom and your tables were next to each other, you'd be like, oh, we're neighbors.
Hey, neighbor.
Hey, neighbor. And so it's a little bit of a kind of a funny way to say it. But yes, it does mean that they are very close together, right? And then we had this word straight. So in this case, she was using it as this adverb. That means like not going straight to somewhere. Instead, she might So this word straight, though, is meaning going directly to that place. You're not going to turn or go do something else first. You're going to go straight there. Obviously, in this case, Paula is not going straight to the cafeteria, so she had something to do before that, which hopefully we'll find out, because I don't know what she's going to do.
That's right. On a normal day, or if she was especially really hungry, she would go straight to the cafeteria. She wouldn't stop somewhere else or sort of make a long trip to get there. No, she would go right there. If you're tired at the end of your day, if you got a lot of homework, if you have nothing else to do, what are you doing after school? I got a lot of homework. I'm going straight to the library or straight home. I'm not going to play basketball or go to the store or do anything. A to B, that's it. And in this case, straight to the cafeteria is what they would normally do. And if you're hungry, that makes sense because the cafeteria is where you buy food. It's kind of like a restaurant, but it's a much simpler restaurant. We're not here talking about a coffee shop. So in your local neighborhood, there might be a coffee shop. You see the word cafe in the word, right? Kind of the French for coffee. No, but a cafeteria isn't a coffee shop. It's also not really a restaurant. It's kind of a simpler sort of place. Often you'll pick your own food. You'll kind of go along with a tray and you'll kind of, ooh, that looks good, and I'll have one of those and take that apple or something like that. And we often find cafeterias in really big buildings with lots of people, in schools, in hospitals, maybe in an airport or something like that. They might have it where soldiers live, on a big army base. It's a good way of feeding a lot of people really, really quickly without having waiters and cooks. No, they just prepare a lot of food like a buffet. You go in and you take what you want and pay for what you take. So that would be the cafeteria, especially common in big schools and places like that. All right, back to the dialogue. So yeah, normally they go straight to the cafeteria. They meet there. They have lunch together. Paula will not go straight there. Clint wants to know why. He doesn't say why. He says, how come? Which is very similar. Why are you doing that? How come you did that? So why? Why aren't you going straight there? I thought, he says, we would walk there together. That's what they normally do.
Yes, but then Paula says, I have to drop off my report for Mr. Wilson's class at the teacher's office.
That's why. That's how come.
So that's the answer to that how come. Is like she has this report that she needs to turn in because obviously she doesn't want it to be late.
Right.
So she needs to turn it in and she needs to go to a different place first before she gets to the cafeteria.
Okay.
And so she's turning in this report, and a report is just an assignment, kind of usually a bigger assignment. A lot of times it's like a paper, maybe it includes maybe a poster, so a bigger assignment on a topic. So often we do book reports in school, and so you'll read a book and then you'll have to make a whole report about what did you read, or what were the themes of that book, or what were the characters. And so usually a report is worth a lot of points on your grade, and it's something that takes a lot longer to do. So try not to save reports for the night before they're due, because that might be not a great idea.
That's absolutely true. And you generally won't just write a report from what you think up in your own mind. You'll probably have to go to a library or go online, get other people's information, put that into your homework. So it does take a while.
Yes.
But dropping off the report, just going to the teacher's office and saying, here's my report, that shouldn't take a long time. So Clint thinks, well, you're not going straight to the cafeteria. You have to drop off this report. But he says that shouldn't take too long. No, she just has to walk down to the teacher's office, then to the cafeteria, maybe 5 minutes.
Yes, but then Paula says it won't, meaning actually dropping it off won't take too much time. But I have to run to the computer lab and print it out first.
That will take more time.
Yes, that would take more time, and especially if the report is longer, it might be many, many, many pages, so it might be like sitting there waiting for the printer for a while.
Or maybe someone's using the printer before them and like, beep, beep, how do I make this work? Beep, beep, it doesn't work.
I have to turn it in.
So it probably will end up taking her more time to drop off her report, but that's important, right?
Yes.
Otherwise, her report will be overdue, and that's no good. And we're almost overdue on time, so let's finish it up for today, but we'll be back with you, Paula, Clint, school, tomorrow.
Part
Mike,
C.
Sam, bye.
Clint and Paula are talking in the hallway between classes.
My next class is music. What's yours?
I have chemistry, so I'll be in the laboratory.
Cool. We'll be neighbors because the music room is right next door.
Oh, I almost forgot. I'm not going straight to the cafeteria after class.
How come? I thought we would walk there together.
I have to drop off my report for Mr. Wilson's class at the teacher's office.
That shouldn't take too long.
It won't, but I have to run to the computer lab and print it out first.
Hello， 大家好，见面啦，我是 Winnie。首先呢，第一个字应该在学校就听过了 ，chemistry 名词，化学。In high school, we get to choose to take chemistry or biology. 在高中呢，我们可以选择选修化学或是生物。接着是 neighbor 名词，邻居、邻近的人事物。Do you say hi to your neighbors when you see them? 当你遇到邻居的时候，你会跟他们打招呼吗？再来是 straight 副词是立即还有马上。I got home and went straight to bed. 我一到家就马上睡觉。最后则是 report 名词是报告。Every month I need to write a monthly report to my boss. 每个月呢，我要缴交月报告给我的老板。好，学会了吗？那我们来看看一下用语有哪些。Between classes 下课时间 ，between 呢指在两者之间，那在两堂课之间的时间即指下课时间。其他类似的说法呢，还有 between meals 在正餐之间。看个例句 ，She often takes a quick nap between classes. 她常常在下课的时间小睡一下。再来是 drop off something。在途中留下某个东西，这是可分动词片语哦。那 Tina dropped off my scarf at my work. Tina 把我的围巾拿到公司给我。那还有另外一个受词是人的用法，表示让某人下车。We dropped them off at the station on our way home. 我们在回家的路上顺便载他们到车站。接下来是 print out 列印，那 print 呢是列印印刷的意思。你去影印店的时候，老板会问你 How many copies would you like to print out? Copy 呢就是副本、影本、复制品，在这边是名词。你需要印多少份影本？好，今天都学会了吗？下次见。
Zhiben National Forest Recreation Area is a large park in Taitung County. Inside the park are many different types of plants. There are many walking and hiking trails in the park. Difficult trails head up steep mountains. Amazing trees wait along the way. Come take a forest bath in the Zhiben National Forest Recreation Area.
See you next time!